Okay, everyone, today we are going to listen and learn about the story. Yeah, it is the elephant and the ant. So now let's start with learning about the vocabulary of the story. Attitude of respect. Attitude of respect. It is the gesture or behavior of respect. Number two, to pound. It means to crush. To crush. Cân. Cầm tịch. Pestle. Pestle. It is the instrument for crushing things in a bowl or mortar. Angre. Mortar. Mortar. Thick bowl in which things are crushed. Cứ table. Pause. Short but noticeable break in activity. Pause. Traditional doctor. Doctor who used traditional medicine such as herbs to cure diseases in a traditional way. Pet boran. Store. Container used to store things on the elephant back or horse back. Raop. Tuk Ivan. Monastery. Pagoda. Wat Aram. Monastery. The moral values, usefulness and the importance of the moral. តម្លៃសីលធម៌អប់រំ Privilege. Privilege. Special advantages limited to a particular person or group. បុព្វសិទ្ធិឬឯកសិទ្ធិ Coarse. Coarse. Rough in manner or rough in surface. ក្រោតក្រៀត Desperately. Desperately. In despair. Hopelessly. ដោយអស់សង្ឃឹម Breeze. Breeze. Light, gentle wind or windy air. ខ្យល់រំភើយ The comings and goings. The actions of passing by. ការធ្វើដំណើរទៅមក Shout or pain. Shout or pain. Painful shout. Shout in pain. សម្រែកឈឺចាប់ Now let's go to the sentence structures. To grow up. It means to reach the adult life. It means to become majority. ធំធាត់ធំពេញវ័យ Pass away. It means die, leave this world. Slap. Okay. To reinforce something. I mean to strengthen something with addition. ពង្រឹងអ្វីមួយ okay. To gather around. I mean to assemble together around. គឺប្រមូលផ្ដុំនៅជុំវិញនរណាម្នាក់ឬអ្វីមួយ okay. To tuck one's feet to the side. I mean to sit by putting one's feet to the side in Khmer traditional way in front of the older people to show respect. អង្គុយបត់ជើងទៅម្ខាង អង្គុយបត់ជើងហ្នឹងឯងណា To emphasize something. To place the emphasis on something. សង្កត់ន័យលើអ្វីមួយ To manage one's legs. To press and rub someone's legs. ម៉ាសាជើងនរណាម្នាក់ធ្វើសរសៃជើងឲ្យនរណាម្នាក់ To show respect to somebody. To show respect to somebody. To display or express respect to somebody. បង្ហាញនៅសេចក្តីគោរពចំពោះនរណាម្នាក់ To show gratitude. To show or express gratefulness. បង្ហាញនៅសេចក្តីដឹងគុណ To be familiar with something. To be associated with something. To know something very well. ស្គាល់ច្បាស់ដឹងច្បាស់ To allow somebody to do something. I mean to permit somebody to do something. To let somebody do something. អនុញ្ញាតឲ្យណាម្នាក់ឲ្យធ្វើអ្វីមួយ to present something to somebody I mean to show something to somebody in description or illustration បង្ហាញអ្វីមួយទៅកាន់នរណាម្នាក់ to struggle to do something to try hard to do something តស៊ូធ្វើអ្វីមួយ to struggle with something to try hard with something to overcome something តស៊ូជំនះនឹងឧបសគ្គអ្វីមួយ to fall into a pond to drop into a pond ធ្លាក់ចូលត្រពាំង to fall down from it mean to fall off ធ្លាក់ពីលើអ្វីមួយ to feel sorry for somebody to have a sorry feeling for somebody មានអារម្មណ៍អាណិតអាសូរចំពោះនរណាម្នាក់ to place something in on at I mean to put something in on at គឺទុកបាទទុកដាក់អ្វីមួយណា to scramble to the safety I mean to struggle against difficulty to the safe place គឺវាបាទវាទៅកាន់ទីសុវត្ថិភាព to be able to do something I mean to have ability to do something can do something មានសមត្ថភាពធ្វើអ្វីមួយក៏អាចធ្វើអ្វីមួយបាន to observe something to watch something carefully គឺអង្កេតឬក៏ធ្វើការសង្កេតអ្វីមួយ to climb up something to move up something ឡើងលើអ្វីមួយ to amble to walk at an easy gentle rate ដើរទៅត្រោតដើរយឺតបែបដូចអ្នកសម្រាប់ឧទាហរណ៍ to raise the bow I mean to pick up the bow លើកធ្នូឡើង to startle somebody I mean to give a sudden slide of shock to somebody បញ្ញាក់នរណាម្នាក់ឲ្យភ្ញាក់ to save one's life to rescue one's life to help somebody from danger ជួយសង្គ្រោះជីវិតណាម្នាក់ to flee into something to flee to a place I mean to escape into something to escape to a place រត់គេចឬក៏ភៀសខ្លួនទៅកន្លែងណាមួយឬក៏ទៅក្នុងអ្វីមួយទៅអូខេបាទឥឡូវយើងរៀនពាក្យនិង structure ប៉ុណ្ណឹងនេះឥឡូវយើងនឹងចាប់ផ្ដើមស្ដាប់រឿងទាំងអស់គ្នាអូខេបាទរឿងយើងបាទគឺរឿង the elephant and the ant okay, now let's start now follow me everyone yeah for my students they have the book the story but for you who doesn't have the book you try to listen and understand the content of our story okay so now let's go I was born and grew up in a village in a rice-growing area about 10 kilometers from the border with Vietnam. I learned stories at home, first from my grandmother and after she passed away from my father. The tales I heard at home were later reinforced at school when I learned to read them from the blackboard and from books. My grandmother lived with my parents and she told stories to me and my cousins, whose homes were nearby, almost every night. At about 6:30 or 7, after the evening meal, we would gather around her at our house, sitting on the floor, our feet tucked to the side in the attitude of respect children always display in front of people older than themselves. However, sometimes a favorite grandchild would lie across her knees. Grandmother always wore the traditional dress of black long-sleeved tunic and sampan, the wrap-around trousers with long pieces of cloth that passed between the legs and tucked in at the back. She was fond of chewing betel and nut, and as she talked to us, she prepared nuts by pounding them with a pestle and mortar. When she came to an interesting part of the story, she stopped pounding to emphasize the point, and in the pause between each story, all of us children would massage her legs for her. In this way, we show our respect and our gratitude to her for entertaining us. Grandmother's folk tales were always about animals that were well known to us. We saw hares, snails, ants, buffaloes, and birds every day in the village and the fields. We were familiar with elephants because the traditional doctor used them to travel around the village. This store of medicines, herbs, and wines packed on their broad bags. At school, at the village monastery, in the second and third grades, we were taught to read tales from the blackboard and learn them by heart. The monks who taught us would hear us tell parts of the stories in turn, and then question us. What is the moral of the story? What does it tell us about character? Is the story just about animals, or can it apply to people? In this way, moral values of our society were taught both at home and at school. But the stories were more interesting when we heard them at home. The telling was livelier. The first 3 years of primary schooling were spent at the monastery. There are no girls were there when I started in 1944, although they attend nowadays. Then they were taught to read and write at home by their parents. When I began school, my father prepared me a board to write on. It was made of a slab of the park tree, thickly painted with black lacquer. I wrote on it in chalk. It wasn't until the third year that, as a special privilege, we were allowed to write in books of coarse, yellowish paper made from rice stalks. We used pen and ink to form our letters. When I was about 10, my cousin and I were the only 2 children in the village to go on to the public school about 8 kilometers away. We walked there and back every day while our former classmates, whose parents could not manage without their labor on the farms, worked out in the fields. In the public school, there were books to read, and in them, the traditional tales of Cambodia were presented to me once again. Here in Australia, I don't seem to have time to tell stories to my grandchildren, to my children in the traditional way. The oldest read them for themselves in Cambodian books. The younger ones will follow their examples, I hope. Our folk tales tell something of the customs and values of Cambodia. They are a way of letting Australians know something of our way of life, we look at things. With this in mind, I would like to tell 2 of the traditional stories I learned from my grandmother. The first one is called The Elephant and the Ant. So now let's go to our story, okay? Once upon a time, in the middle of the jungle, there was a pond. One day, as an old elephant came to drink, it saw an ant struggling in the water. It had fallen into the pond from an overhanging cliff and was desperately trying to get to the bank where it was eaten by a fish. The elephant felt sorry for the poor struggling creature, so it took a small branch and placed it in the water near the ant. The ant scrambled to safety on the branch, and the gentle afternoon breeze blew the branch and the ant to the bank. In this way, the elephant saved the ant's life. The ant lived near the pond and was able to observe the comings and goings of all the creatures that used it. One day, he noticed a hunter waiting silently by the water's edge. He had a bow and poisoned arrows in mind to shoot the old elephant as it came down to drink. "The elephant saved my life once," said the ant to itself. "If I don't do something to help it now, it will be killed." The ant climbed out of the hunter's leg and stayed there quietly. Soon, the old elephant appeared, ambling towards the pond. The hunter silently and steadily raised his bow and poisoned arrow and took aim. As he did so, the ant beat his leg as hard as it could. The hunter gave a sudden shout of pain, and arrow flew wide of its mark, missing the elephant. Startled by the hunter's cry, the elephant fled into the jungle. In this way, the ant saved the elephant's life. So the moral of the story is that a small creature can be just as important as a large creature. So we will continue to listen to the second story. Yeah. But now our story is here to an end. So I hope you get it. Okay. If you're not sure, you can listen to it again and try to understand its content. What is the story about? Okay. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you, everyone.